to the Connected Mom podcast, where we have real conversations helping you to connect more deeply with God, more empathically with your fellow moms, and more intentionally with your child. I'm Becky Harling, your host, and today we're going to talk about the topic of movies and films. I mean, we're headed into summer as we record this, and I imagine that a lot of you moms out there are going to want to take your kids to see some movies, or maybe you're going to get them on your TV through one of the apps that you can get. And so today, our conversation is with the co-founder and president of the American Cinema Organization. We're going to be talking with Chevonne O'Shaugnessy.
O'Shaughnessy, yes.
O'Shaugnessy, yes. And Chevonne has had a heart to produce films that inspire and promote strong moral values. In the year 2000, she founded the American Cinema International Organization. In 2014, she co-founded the American Cinema International Inspires Organization. And this focuses on creating family-friendly films. So, Chevonne, I'm really excited to talk with you because I think our moms, they like taking their kids to movies, but there's a little bit of a fear, right, about what their kids are going to see and what they're going to hear in the theaters. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this. I mean, did you always dream of being a movie star when you were a kid?
That is so funny. No, not at all. No. And I didn't even think of film. To tell you the truth, I ended up guided me into the career that I was at, and it's almost being pushed. It was funny because I had come back from Italy. I was living in Italy. I had an apartment that was paid for by my father. I had cars that were paid for by my father, and we're talking back in the 80s. And I also had $8,000 in net monthly from my father. Very generous father. But I had just graduated from the American University in Rome with an international business degree. And 2 weeks later, I get a telegram from in Rome, which for starters, when she called, I was like, what? I thought the telegrams came to the door and you were handed them. And she goes, no, this is and she was talking to me in English in Italy.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. She goes, this is Chevonne O'Shaugnessy. I say, yes. Well, we have a telegram from your father. No more monies. So, I mean, God slapped me down, which was good. And as I sat on my terrace in Rome, because I thought my life was going to be in Rome. I thought my life was directed to be in Rome. I was all 2 feet into being in Rome and everything. And he had another plan. And as I sat on my terrace, I'm crying, thinking my life is over. Ooh, what am I going to do? And then I said, I got a degree. I got something. So let's go. And I said to, at that time, my Italian husband, sell the cars, sell the apartment. And I sat and said, oh, how much money as a woman can I make in Italy versus the United States? And at that time, the glass ceiling for women in Italy was a lot stronger than the United States. So I said, I'm going to go back home to the United States. I'm going to go to my mother's house, which is in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
And I'll get a job in import-export because my degree was from the international business. So I go back home. I'm at my mother's house. I'm feeling depressed because I'm back in my house. I've been married. I have a child and everything. And I'm writing my degree, my resume out. And my mother comes up to me and she goes, Chevonne, guess what? Guess what? And I'm like, what, Mom? She goes, Universal Studios is opening up in Orlando, Florida. And I look at my mom and go, so Disney World, SeaWorld, Circus World, Busch Gardens, you name it. We have another park in Orlando. I mean, so what? She's like, oh, guess what? It could be great. And I'm like, okay, well, Mom, I did a tour guide for Disney World when I was 16. Your daughter is international business, so I'm going to find something import-export. So let's not talk about parks. So I was going to the Chamber of Commerce and I was trying to find something back and forth. And 3 months had gone by and I had nothing. My Italian husband's about to show up. My daughter's about to show up from Rome. And I'm still at my mother's house. All of a sudden, I had done the convention sales years ago because I grew up in Orlando. And they called me up to come to apply for a job. Now, this is how God is so powerful. As I'm driving to the place, because I grew up there, I'm getting off on the wrong exit.
Oh,
Now, you know how the freeways are high? So
yep.
as I'm coming off the freeway, I'm seeing Universal Studios under construction. The God's voice started telling me, and I listened, and I went up to the gate, and this poor black man sitting there with a suit in the heat of Florida. And I asked him, can you tell me where the employment agency is? And he tells me 7 miles out of my way. And if you've ever been to Orlando, there's swampland around Orlando. And there was before MapQuest, this is before anything to cell phones. So I'm
GPS, yeah.
driving around and I'm thinking I'm totally lost. I'm thinking that where am I at? This is on these streets that I can't find. And then all of a sudden this clearing came and you see these trailer parks and I go park my car. And literally I'm sitting in the parking lot going, I don't have time to do this to myself. I don't have time to do this. I have to go to that other job. And literally it wasn't got a voice now. It was literally 2 hands pushing me to go into the building. As I went into the building, I go up to the counter and I say, I would like to apply for a job. And the guy says to me, what would you like to apply for? And this is my attitude. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm here. Because I've been fighting with myself in the parking lot. And I'm saying, I don't know. And he goes, well, tell me about yourself. Well, then I became a peacock. Well, my name is Chevonne O'Shaugnessy. I just came back from Rome. I have an international business degree from the American University. And I speak Spanish, I speak Italian, and I speak English. And he kind of stops and he goes, you speak Italian? I said, yes. He goes, well, one of the producers that they're using the backlot went to a market in Italy and the Italians totally took him and they're doing international sales. Maybe you should apply there.
Wow.
I applied. 500 other people applied. I remember not even going to the other job interview. I just knew I was going to get this job. And 2 weeks later, I was sitting at the Cannes Film Festival. And a week ago, that was 36 years ago.
Wow. What a story. What a story. So tell us a little bit about so then your then husband came from
And husband, yep.
Italy and you had a daughter or a son at that time?
Daughter. I had a beautiful daughter in Rome, Italy. It was, again, I was thinking my life was going to be in Italy. I mean, I was 2 feet into being in Italy when God had another plan for my life.
Yeah.
And it was funny because at the time I was pregnant with my daughter before she came, I had some complications and I had to go into it was a private hospital, but it was August, so it was on vacation. So they ended up putting me in a social hospital. And I mean, I got the care, but it wasn't what I was typically used to. So I'm calling home saying, I want to go home. Please, I want to go home. I don't want to deliver my baby here. I want to go home and not have it. And they said, you're past the 7 months, or I couldn't travel anymore, the long distance to the United States.
Yeah.
So I found the same hospital where the Pope goes, which is an American hospital. They speak English to you. And all my Italian relatives were laughing at me going, Chevonne is going to have an American doctor tell her push instead of spingere. So I'm paying a fortune for this.
Yes. Oh, so where is your daughter now?
Well, would you believe she came back from the United States with me? And during COVID, her father ended up passing away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And the sad part was of it, it was very sad. None of his wife nor the new kids or even my daughter spoke Italian. And they're calling me to do the translation because none of them could speak the Italian language.
Wow.
So I am, unfortunately, we were still good. So and then all the family was like, that's not fair that we don't have anybody that we can talk to. It was God's hands again. I mean, I went to Rome to take her after this happened. And there's an American university on the property his family lived at.
Wow.
So she's there now. She's studying Italian. My grandson speaks fluent Italian now. We have him in the French school next, so he'll be speaking French, Italian, and English.
Wow.
And
wow. Who knew you spoke so many languages? That's not in your bio, by the way. That needs to be in your bio because I think that's really impressive. Okay, so let's talk about films and families. Okay. What are some of the upcoming films that you would say this is a good one for families to go to?
I think the new ones, it's so hard. I mean, one of the reasons why I ended up moving into this faith base, because I was doing mainly action, was was letting my daughter, because I was working so hard, sit in front of the Disney Channel and thinking to myself, she's watching Disney. It can't be that bad. And
Yes.
then I watched what she was watching, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And thinking to myself, if I have a voice and I have a power, I want to change that and give people an alternative than this in sexual innuendos of what our positions are supposed to be. And it's still there. So I'm trying to just make content that people have an alternative.
Yeah,
It's
I
clean,
really,
there's good morals to my
yeah.
content.
I love that. I think, when we were raising our kids, some of the princess movies were okay, but then, there is this new trend where there's just innuendo and other things coming into films, and it's complicated for parents, you know.
Very.
So what are some of the films that you've specifically been behind?
I was part of the distributing worldwide before PureFlix started their own. We took on their films, and it was really funny how I met them was because, as I said, I used to do action, and God slaps you in a little bit, and all of a sudden we had made 4 films all at the same time because there was going to be a strike going at 1999 to 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and you used to put $1 in automatically, we'd get $4 back or $3 back without thinking. And now all of a sudden, after the strike didn't happen and the reality came into play and the advertising went away, we were hardly making that dollar back.
Mm.
And my partner and I were fighting. And some people go to drinking or something. I went to a Bible study class. It was my first time going to Bible study class, and with a friend of mine. And Cindy Bond at that time was the one leading it, and she was so nice to me. And gave me my own Bible, and she started teaching me how to read it on it. And she had just completed an animation called the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
And she said, "Would you help me with this internationally?" And I said, "Cindy, I don't do that type of movies. I don't. I do crash, boom, bam. I'm the queen of action."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Please, Chevonne, I really trust you." And I went to my partner at the time and I said, "We have a booth. We're at the markets. I mean, we'll put up a poster for the Ten Commandments, and we'll put Christian Slater and Alpha Molino, even though the voices, we'll put their pictures on the artwork. And it's not going to hurt us.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do." Right. I ended up taking it. Cindy had domestic, so I didn't have the United States rights. I had the rest of the world. I ended up selling the whole world, every
Wow.
territory in the world except one. Part was I thought it would be my first territory. Know who it was?
No.
It was Israel. It was Israel.
Okay. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
turned to me and they said, "We already know the story."
And our kids already know the story. So
Yes. So basically, they didn't want a Christian one telling their Jewish story, which is true.
yes.
I got. But I mean, I sold it for Turkey for Ramadan for theatrical. I had it all over the Middle East. I had it China, India, Singapore, Japan. I mean, everywhere. I mean, thinking I'm talking big theatrical releases, and it was amazing. So that's when I said to Cindy, who gave me the movie, I said, "This is a bigger plan for us. It's not just one movie.
Yeah.
If we're going to do it, because I have the outlet and the distribution already, the buyers coming to me, we need to at least have 4 to 6 of these type of movies a year." And then somebody told me, "No, no, don't do 4 or 6. If you're going to do it, try to get as many as you can." So we at one point were up to 75 faith-based movies. A lot of them were pure flexes before they did their own. And we
Wow.
had created even a night. We had in South Africa a mission night, because our company was
Uh-huh.
called Mission Entertainment, and they took 52 titles. So every Sunday there was a faith-based movie on in South Africa. And then Televisa, when they started their little cable channels, they also took 52. So we had a mission night in Latin America.
So
But
what would you say is there a difference between how well they're received here in the United States versus how well they're received overseas?
well, it comes into 2 parts in the overseas market. For starters, video started to diminish, so it started harder to get the video sales. but in TV became the main one. But the problem in the foreign market is if you open a Bible or you start quoting from it, then you're selecting one religion is better than another religion, and they can't do it. So that's why we started moving a little bit more to an inspirational one with like called seed planters, I would call it, because then I would get to be able to be in the more mainstream and get more money for the producers or even for myself, so we could get bigger. And then the books or whatever we're using would have the more Christian-y thing, 300 pages of the real Christian books on it. But the movie would be a seed planter, so it'd have a little thread of it. And
Yeah.
even PureFlix, I said to PureFlix, if we want to get more wider in the same, we'll make two versions. We'll make the Christian version and we'll make the mainstream. Where you have in the movie the part where he goes to the minister and he talks.
Yeah.
We'll do that same conversation. We don't change. We same minutes and same everything else, but we do it with a friend. And that way we can put the seeds in there for them to watch it. But if they want the Christian version, we can sell the Christian version. So we're hitting more people, because also just collecting money for some of these producers is really hard.
Yeah.
They don't get money to recover their costs.
Wow, that's really interesting. So, are you still producing movies then for PureFlix, or are they their own
No,
thing now?
no, they took over their own thing after they did God's Not Dead.
Okay.
Which is
Okay.
smart. I mean, I love David White. I like the whole team over there. They're wonderful people. And when
Yeah.
they, but then they take over their stuff, which is true. And again, they have a mission. Their mission is to convert people. My mission is more, it is a seed planter. I just want to inspire people.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure everybody can watch it. If you want the Christian version, you can read the book. But our movies more are that the whole family can sit there. You don't have to sit there and cover your kids' eyes.
Yeah.
Or grandma can be in the room, because we're taking care of people now these days. So
Yeah.
it's just more wider and an option for people they can watch.
So,
Okay.
what would you say has been your favorite movie so far that you've been involved in producing in the last few years?
I can say my favorite has been the Love Finds You series.
Okay.
And even though, as I said, I was a producer and I had made 150 action movies in the United States,
Yeah.
when I went to the TV channels kind of looked at us and said, "You're not an American distributor, you're an international distributor." I'm like, "Why? I made them here in the United States. My movies are in English. I just made most of my money in the foreign market." So, they don't want to let you in. Let me put it this way. The studios or the channels have their quote people that they work with, and they don't like new people coming in.
Uh-huh.
So when I went to Hallmark the first time, thinking I have a great script and it's going to work, they kind of looked at me and said, "Well, what are you bringing to me?" And I kind of looked and go, "I'm bringing you a script.
Yeah.
I'm bringing you a production that I can do." And they go, "No, no, no, no. We have that already. What extra are you bringing to my channel?" And I remember looking at myself going, "I'm
Yeah.
not Hallmark. You're Hallmark. I'm just a producer." So then I went back and I started, just like everybody else as a production. I'm like, "Well, what can I do?" And I started looking for books. Again, guided me. And with Cindy, we found these guidepost books called Love Finds You. And there's 50 of them. So every city or every state in the union is a Love Finds You. So it becomes part of the character. The books are Christian based, because, Guidepost is like the Christian newsletter. But we took it because a book is 300 pages and a movie's 90. So you
Yeah.
have to take 200 pages out of it. So we did, our first one was called Love Finds You in Sugar Creek.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if I saw that. I might have. I don't know. Every now and then I watch that.
So I went back to Hallmark thinking, look at me. I got my little check boxes here. I got
Yeah.
Guideposts. They do a newsletter to 5 million people. Maybe you don't have these 5 million people. Check that I can bring to you. And they still said no to me. I said to them, they still said no. The one who said yes to me was Up TV. Up
Okay.
TV said yes, and gave me the chance on it. And they let us make the first one. Up TV beforehand was called the Gospel Music Channel.
Okay.
Now is called Up TV. So their target market beforehand was 50 and above. If you look at Guidepost, their target market's 50 and above.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of a sudden we're in post production. We have finished the shot. We made the movie. We're in post. I'm on a flight and the girl calls me from up TV and says, oh, well, we had a meeting and we decided we don't want to hit the 50 and above. We want to now start targeting the 25 to 45-year-old woman. Why? I mean, your market has been 50. Oh, well, the toothpaste people want to get the younger girls so they can keep them. By 50, it doesn't make a difference. They've already stuck to their toothpaste, so we have to now change it to that. I'm like, but your channel's 50 and above. So I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? I got 50 of these books. If they don't do well on this one, I'm done. Right. And then, as I said, God has a plan and he guided me and he said, Chevonne, look at your movie. What's the title of your movie? I'm saying to myself, it's Love Finds You. And he was like, well, put your movie on all the dating sites. It's love.
Yeah.
So I did. At that time, I put little screens around up the, every dating site. It was ChristinaMatch.com, JDate, whatever it was. I had at that time skins all around the movie. Plus we had done all the Christian bookstores. We knew where we wanted to go with it. So we called up, or George and I called up the owner, Brad Siegel that time, and said, we think we're going to do 2 million views on this. And he's like, let me give you the reality of our channel. The highest rated movie to date has been Passion of the Christ on Easter. And that has only done 700,000 views. Do you really think you're going to beat Jesus?
Wow. How did you answer?
Well, I kept my mouth shut. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question, but we did go out and we did 7.4 million views.
That's amazing. I love it. What I love about your story is that God has guided you every step of the way.
All the way.
And I mean, I think that's a really a good point for us actually to wind down the podcast on, because I think moms out there, some of them have careers and they're raising kids like you did. Some of them wish they had a career. Some of them are stay at home because they don't want a career, but you can trust God in the process to guide you, correct?
Oh yeah. I when I was directing things myself, that's when things had problems. When I surrendered and said, no matter what's going on, the direction, it became so much easier. So much easier. I trusted 100%.
Yeah. And I think that in this journey of motherhood and even deciding which films your kids are going to see and what's best for your child in all areas of life, just learning to trust the Lord, because he will guide you just like he's guided you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And your story is incredible because it's a very unique story. It's a very unique thing that God has done in your life. And what an impact you've had through all these movies and films, and it's not over. You're still doing it.
Still doing it. Like I mean, you can find my movies, like you said, clean content. You can find them on our website, which is the ACI on the Go on YouTube. We're on Tubi. We're on most of the platforms as well. But our YouTube channel has 655,000 subscribers. So people are looking for this type of content.
Yes,
so,
they are.
People can go find their other ones, but I want to be the one that the family can sit down and watch together.
Absolutely. That is just a great goal, because there are so many things that are not family friendly right now, but your movies are, and your film content is. And so we're going to wind down, Chevonne, and I will have all of your contact, how they can follow you on YouTube, what films they can find. That will all be in our show notes, friends. So, hey, moms out there that are listening today, I just want to encourage you, just like God has been leading Chevonne through all these different new adventures, he will lead you as well. And how you think it is going to go may not be how it actually goes. You keep trusting God and he will lead you in the journey. So thanks for joining us today on The Connected Mom. And I hope you'll join us again next week for another episode where we'll have another conversation that will help you connect more deeply with God, more empathically with your fellow moms, and more intentionally with your child. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.